I'm not confident because I'm different. I'm not confident because I have an accent. You need to pick courage over perfection. Self-awareness is absolutely critical. It's so important to understand yourself. You have to change quickly. You have to adapt. If you are not changing and adapting, you're not going to be good at your job. For starters, it's made me who I am. I think it's so fundamental to the person that I've become. I don't think I intentionally went for it. I don't think I intentionally said I want to work in different countries and in different environments and different industries. I think I just kept putting my hand up. I know when you're younger, they always tell you that focus on one thing and get really, really good at it. For me, I just wanted to do everything. I always wanted to do everything. And now, when I look back in hindsight, it's fundamentally shaped me into the person that I am. The biggest thing that comes out of it is it's helped me get comfortable with change. I don't think anyone ever gets fully comfortable with change, but to a great degree, it helped me get comfortable with change, be it change in environments, countries, and teams. I remember I had the fortune of starting my career in consulting with McKinsey. As part of that, I had to be on a different project every few months. I had to be in a different country every few months. I had to work with a different team every few months. Now that I look back, I built skills to navigate those environments and situations, skills that are so fundamental that you probably cannot pick up from a book. The actual skill of connecting with people, because I couldn't carry forward the same set of people. I did not have the luxury to work with the same set of people, people that I went to school with, or people that I started my career with, or different people in different teams and different clients. When you move across continents and you're not surrounded by the same familiar set of people, you automatically learn to connect with new people. That fundamental skill of being able to connect with people is just so critical to everything that I do today. I'm really fortunate that I had the chance to build that, because everything that we navigate in the world today is solely based on your ability to be able to connect with other people and go about and do all those things. We just never think of it as a skill, but being able to connect with people is a skill, you know? And you can get better at it, you can work to improve it, and it changes the quality of your life drastically. I just really wish that we were taught some of these things as actual skills, because every time you look at a career playbook, every time you look at a list of skills that you should pick up, it hardly ever features anywhere, and yet it's so foundational. I think some of the other things I've learned as part of moving around so much and doing so many different things is just understanding myself, which is understanding the things that I am good at, but then also understanding the things that I'm not good at all. And that's come from trying different things, being in different situations. So truly just understanding what I like to do, what I don't like to do, what are the gaps that I'm really good at filling, what are some of the things that I'm not good at doing. I think there's this quote that I really, really like, and it goes, if you don't move, you don't notice the chains that are holding you back. If you don't put yourself in those situations, you'll never know all the things that are holding you back. And I don't think I intentionally went after doing so many different things in life, but it's fundamentally made me who I am. This is one thing I'm deeply, deeply passionate about. There isn't a playbook to having a great career. There are so many different things that you do along the way to have a good career. The definition of a good career also varies. What matters is how you navigate that career. And for that, self awareness is absolutely critical. We always talk about the skills that you have. You always talk about the things that you're good at, your competence. You always talk about your ability to deliver and drive results. But nobody ever talks about emotional intelligence and self awareness. And it's so important to understand yourself before you go out and understand your teams, you understand your clients, you understand your customers. And how are you going to do that if you don't fundamentally understand your own self? It manifests in so many ways. You're able to be a more compassionate person, understand people, show up for your teams, understand your clients, take better decisions, and improve on things. No one's going to come and tell you, you're not good at this or you're really bad at that, except my friends. My friends will definitely tell me that. But in the workplace, the more you grow and the more senior you get, you're going to have to learn to understand yourself and understand the way you're showing up and the impact of how you're showing up on different people and different teams. You're going to have to understand their needs and see how you're showing up for them. And it's just such an underrated thing, and it makes world of a difference when you're working with people that are emotionally intelligent and are self-aware and are able to take feedback, are able to have open and honest conversations versus, somebody who's closed off and does not understand the impact of their actions on other people. Even in really small examples, like when I work with different teams, I understand that my team appreciates open and honest conversation. Sometimes they like to know more about discussions where the general leadership direction is going, even though it's not directly relevant. They value that sort of transparency quite a bit, and I bring that to the table because I'm able to understand that that's a big gap that I fill. That I fill between my team and the leadership, and I fill that gap in communication, that gap in dispersion of information, and it just makes you better at what you do. But again, nobody's ever going to be able to teach you that. Nobody can teach you that. Nobody can tell you that this is something you're not good at. They will tell you this is a skill you need to build or a skill that would make you better at your job. Now we're talking about skills that are more than just foundational. Now we're talking about a completely different set of skill sets. I'm deeply passionate about emotional intelligence and self awareness, especially as people that, lead teams and big groups of people and interact with people daily. I love that question. And I don't think it's as much as just women believing that they're not good at it as it is society making them believe that, because we're just so surrounded with stereotypes, with conditioning, with all of these different things that are fed to us from a younger age, that somewhere they become part of our narrative, right? And as an example, even for me, I always thought there are so many things that I'm just not good at. I'm not good at negotiation. I'm not good at investing my money. I always assumed that I was not very money oriented. So it's fine for me to not be good at those things. But those things are things that you can learn. It's okay for you to wake up and say, you know what, I'm not great at singing, I'm not great at dancing, which is completely fine. But when it comes to some of the other skills that you actually need as part of your career, those are skills that you can 100% learn. So instead of saying that's not something I'm good at, saying that's something I haven't invested the time in is a better way to look at it. So it almost starts with, like recognizing that narrative that you've been telling yourself and just shifting that to say, it's just something I haven't invested time in. But if I did, you could get better at it. Like every single thing that we tell ourselves, it's not even us telling ourselves as much as it is conditioning telling you that women are not good at this and they're not good at that and they're not good at being aggressive and in boardrooms. And all of those things are untrue. Every single thing is untrue. So it matters what you tell yourself, and that you fundamentally recognize that there's no skill you would need for your career, especially in the corporate world, that you would not be able to build. I feel so strongly about that because the number of times we have heard fake it till you make it. I've got two big problems with that. A, it's not practical advice. Like, what does it even mean? Like, it means nothing. It's not practical advice. B, I also think that there is a danger to continuing to fake it because then you don't recognize what is inherently building your confidence. And there's a big danger that you could start confusing confidence with competence. If I get so used to faking it every morning, how do I know that I'm actually getting better at something? And how do I know that I'm actually building confidence? So I just find that whole framing of fake it till you make it quite, it's not helpful advice. I think a more sort of helpful thing that I tell myself instead is to have courage and have courage over perfection, because I grew up in environments where I was excelling as a child, and then that put so much pressure on me that over a period of time, you just get so uncomfortable with failing and making mistakes until something's perfect. You just wouldn't do it at all. And it is so limiting. But then just to get myself out of that and say that you need to pick courage over perfection. And in the instances that you do, you're going to end up building more and more confidence. And what is the worst that's going to happen, right? Either you do well and it helps some people, or you do a bad job And yet you learn how to manage a situation. So, one way or the other, I think you benefit from it. There are lots of other small things that I do to build confidence. One thing that is super important is to understand why you're feeling underconfident. That goes back to being more self aware and understanding yourself. Why am I feeling underconfident? Is it because I'm not good at this one thing that I'm doing? Is it because of conditioning? Is it because, I was told in my childhood that I'm not good at it? Or is it because I'm worried that I'm going to be mocked for my accent or for the way that I look? Understanding what is weighing you down and what is making you feel less confident is important. And then you can change those things actively. But if you don't recognize if, that underconfidence is coming from a lack of skill or if it is coming from a lot of this conditioning, it's challenging to get out of that space. So just beginning to understand, some of those things about yourself and then intentionally working and putting yourself in situations that will make you feel more confident. If you understand that this is why, if you feel like you're not competent at this one thing, you could build confidence. You could practice your craft, you could learn, you could get better at what you do. And that's a way of building confidence. But on the other hand, if it is my own biases dragging me down, if I feel like I'm not confident because I'm different, I'm not confident because I have an accent, those are then things that you have to work on in a very different way. They've got almost nothing to do with your actual competence and craft. Understanding where that's coming from is super critical. And once you do, there's nothing that we cannot do. It's just identifying where that's coming from. That one's the hardest, isn't it? It is. It's the hardest. And I don't think it comes easy to anyone, especially when you do so many different things and put yourself in so many different environments. There's no way being authentic and being your true self is going to come easy. When you're younger, fighting so many other things, when you start to advance in your career and grow in your career, all of that shifts fundamentally for you. But I think at some point, you realize that not being yourself takes you down and weighs you down, right? The amount of energy that you have to spend. If I have to wake up every day and think about not wearing a bright shirt because I have a board meeting where everyone's going to be dressed soberly, it's just not worth my time. And the energy that you're spending just trying to be someone else, you could do so much more with it. So at some point, that realization comes. You have to be comfortable in who you are. And only then can you start to take all of that to whatever situations you go to. If you understand the power of being yourself, what you bring to the table, why that uniqueness is valuable, that makes it so much easier to be yourself because why would you be anyone else? There was this one time I was volunteering. So I volunteer outside of work and I speak multiple languages. I speak Hindi, Urdu, English, but I've never thought of the value that being multilingual brings. Just because we're all so used to just talking in English, speaking in English, all that matters is how fluent you are in English, how you're able to like communicate in a language. You almost forget that the other parts of you are also important. When I was volunteering in London, this person walked in and they only spoke Hindi and there was nobody else that could help them. And I was like, wait a second, I speak Hindi. And that was that one moment where I was just so grateful that I speak different languages, that I am who I am, that I am where I am, because I was able to help that person and nobody else around could. And small things like that have completely shifted the way that I think about who I am, about my identity, about what I bring to the table, and just really start to see the value in who you are, the value in what you bring to the table. And that is definitely 100% quite hard to do when you're young. But if that's a direction that you want to take, you're going to have to be comfortable with just accepting who you are fundamentally. I remember very early on in my career, and I'm really thankful for that. Somebody gave me this advice, one of my only female managers, and we were talking about exactly the same thing. I started my career in tech, I'm still in tech, and it was predominantly a male heavy field. We were talking about being different and being the only woman in a room, etc. And then she looks at me and she says, Mayanka, if you're the only different person in a room, who do you think they're all going to remember? When you enter a room that's feeling overwhelming, everyone's a certain way and you're not, you have that power of being remembered. You have that power of them noticing you and remembering what you say. So it's just really getting comfortable and understanding the value that you bring as your true self, which is a journey we're all on. I don't think I'm fully there. Being in a different environment has helped me for sure. Seeing that I'm able to navigate multiple situations has truly helped me. But yeah, definitely a big journey. I think it's one of those things that have made me who I am. I'm very fortunate to have a big group of friends. And what we do is, and contrary to like popular opinion where people are like, don't talk about your work at dinner table and don't talk about your work all the time. I think we talk about our work as much as we actually talk about our careers. So I found myself like friends that I can discuss my career with, which I think is a big blessing because they know me. They know me, they know my strengths, they know my weaknesses. They're all navigating, different situations and different environments, different industries, etc., and have such different perspectives. So when we sit down to have dinner or when we're walking around town or doing something fun like a picnic outside, we talk about our careers, we discuss situations how we're navigating any big events happening in our lives. And they know me so well that they're able to give me advice that is super helpful. Just as an example, just last week I told my friends that I was doing this interview, and one of them said, Mayanka, don't over prepare. Because A, they know me, they know that I work hard and I prepare a lot. But B, they were like, you'd be good naturally. They want to hear true stories, right? They want to hear real things. They don't want to hear advice that they've always heard. So be yourself, let it flow, be vulnerable if you have to, but don't over prepare. Now, that is advice I could not have gotten otherwise, or I would have had to go tap a mentor on the shoulder, ping somebody and say, hey, I'm doing this thing. What do you think I should do? What do you think I shouldn't do? And all of that effort I've saved myself by surrounding myself with people that I can discuss some of these things with. I make it a point to discuss big things that are happening in my life. And that definitely includes my career because it's such a big part of who I am. For a lot of my other friends as well, it's such a big part of who they are. And they could be in very different fields. Like one of my closest friends, she's a lawyer, but we have such similar struggles when you're trying to navigate spaces that are predominantly not meant for you, when you're trying to navigate challenges. Somebody's trying to like be a people manager for the first time. All these different things, they're similar struggles. It's all things that they've done or things that they're going through as well. And that for me, I feel like is where I get most of my advice from. Very, very unpopular opinion because I know they'll always tell you, leave work outside, do not bring that to the dinner table. And they'll always tell you that you should talk about this with mentors, and all of that's really helpful. Yes, you'd have mentors, but how often can you tap mentors and talk about big things when there are important things happening every week in your life? So I mean, like we've discussed my life story, all the different things that I've done, adaptability is something that just comes with that. It comes with being in all of those different situations. It comes with putting yourself in different environments. These learnings are in hindsight. Now that I look back at my career and I realize the person I've become shapes the rest of my career, right? Who I am today is going to shape the rest of my career. Being adaptable is truly where I get most amount of value from. So I've done lots of different things in my career, but even now I know that my managers and some of the senior leaders in my organization will tap me on the shoulder and say, here's something different. Would you like to do it? The reason why my entire career has been people giving me opportunities is because I've been able to change and adapt to lots of different situations and roles. So you're going to have to wear like 10 different hats. You can look at doing strategy, you can look at implementation, you can vary your approach and your conversation based on who you're working with. And you're just able to not only fit better in teams and environments, but also understand the world better. Because the world itself is so flexible. The industry that I'm in right now, I'm in fintech, and so much changes. Technology changes, the markets are crazy right now. All of that is changing. You have to change quickly. It's not just about changing your project strategy, it's sometimes changing everything. The way that you're working, the people that you have involved, the information that you need to get. Because there's so much change, you have to adapt. If you are not changing and adapting, you're not going to be good at your job. It's a skill that I've learned is not as common as you'd like it to be. And that's what differentiates you. You have to truly understand why it differentiates you and what value it lets you add. A lot of the times you meet people that have done one thing for a long time, and then we struggle to change our mental frame of mind. And the way we approach something, subconsciously, we all become so set in our ways. And we won't know that until we actually go out and change, sometimes fundamentally change everything. I truly believe that adaptability and being able to flex in situations is important for myself. I don't think I picked this life. It happened to me. I kept saying, yes, I want to try it, and kept moving around. And that made me the person that I am. Actively learning to practice now is negotiation. I've studied that in B school. I've read books on it. One of my favorite books, it's called Never Split the Difference. You can understand the theory and the things that you need, but I'm having to employ that in real life quite a bit now. As part of my work, I'm having to rally different businesses and teams together to align them towards a common output. And that means negotiating with a lot of different business stakeholders, different teams, a lot of different people to get the outcome that I want. It's incredibly difficult, but the more I do it, I can see myself get better at it, using my existing relationships, the trust I've built with these people, using that goodwill, enter conversations with them. I always enter conversations on a kind, empathetic, and humble note because that's super important. I think if you attack conversations aggressively or if you're defensive, it makes it incredibly hard for you to get what you want. So just understanding that context of what their, motivations are, what are their incentives, understanding people, I think is absolutely critical. Like sometimes I'm able to walk into meetings and I'm like, I know how that person works, what they're going to say, because this is their objective. I have a plan for how I can work around what they're going to put on the table. I've got an alternative. I understand their motives, and just learning to get a lot better at that. I think that's one thing that I'm definitely actively trying to build. It also comes in handy. I'm trying to buy a house, and that negotiation is absolutely critical. The number of aspects in life that you can apply that to is absolutely crazy. I wish I had learned that sooner. But again, I don't think books can teach you that. It's just something you're going to have to practice in real life. I truly believe you cannot do everything in life with an agenda, hoping for an outcome. Your career is you. So we need to focus on building ourselves. A lot of the times, that's not going to lead to a promotion. You're learning all of these skills, but that's not what's going to get you to the next level, but it's going to build you into who you are. There's this thing that we say in our culture, and I'll tell you the actual quote. So, like it says, Karm kiye ja, phal ki chinta mat kar, which translates to do the deed, don't worry about the fruit. And in the corporate culture, it's exactly the opposite of that, right? In the corporate culture, it's like set your KPIs, measure everything, everything needs to have an outcome, etc., which is fine when you're trying to deliver results. But I do not think you can live your personal lives and build your careers like that. You cannot have a KPI for everything. You're just going to have to do it in the hope of learning a skill, becoming a better person, building that sort of foundation for yourself. It's going to come in handy in the future. So much pressure to think about the outcome of every single thing you do. Oh, I'm going to have this conversation with this person. What is it going to lead to? I'm going to do this. And like, what is that going to lead to? And none of that is going to lead to anything. I've spent the last 3 years of my career at this company just talking to people and building relationships. And now I'm in a position where I'm on a very big, large scale project where all of that comes so useful and so handy. But I didn't do it the last few years with the intention that it's going to lead somewhere. I did it because I wanted to know more and I wanted to know these people and I wanted to stay connected with them. So it's just like it's a lot of pressure. And I feel like it's an absolute waste of your energy if you're constantly thinking about the outcome. I saw this thing recently and I thought it was very interesting. NVIDIA's CEO was narrating this story about how when he started NVIDIA, he did not have a business plan because he didn't know how to build a business plan at all. He wanted to do something that nobody else understood because it was the first of its kind in the field. And then his ex manager or his like ex employer calls him and he's like, what are you up to? And, what are you doing with your life, etc. And then he talks to him about what he's trying to build. And this guy says, that makes no sense to me. But then he makes a phone call to somebody and says, give this kid some money because he's been the best employee I've ever had. So it was his reputation basically that got him the money for his first company It was not the fact that he had a business plan. It was not the fact that it was, this fantastic opportunity, etc. But it was the fact that he had that reputation, which I'm sure he did not build that reputation keeping that goal in mind, right? And that's something to remind yourself of is you don't know the ways in which things are going to pay off, and you're just going to have faith. You're just going to have to believe in what you're doing and keep at it, because otherwise you're just wasting your energy trying to perfectly craft that opportunity, and it just doesn't work like that. I think that was my mother's comment on the pace of my career. I've always been ambitious. I've always been the person that wanted to go, go, go and do all of these things. And my mother would very casually look at me and she's like, yeah, you're going to burn out. Like, you're not going to go too far. And then she would always say that life's like your career's a marathon. You're sprinting. So, of course, you're not going to last because you don't understand that your career is a marathon. The more you grow in the time you spend in the industry, etc., you also realize that it's not a single race. Sometimes you restart, right? You do something and you've done it for a few years, and then you want to do something different, in which case you come back to the start and then start again. So it never stops, but then also it's not linear at all. And just understanding that helps you pace your life and your career. Because I know, and I said that slightly earlier as well, you are your career. Your career is not a company. Your career is not a job. It's you. It's who you are, what you know, how you present, the people you've met. And you could take this and put this in a new role, in a new environment, and you'd be fine. It might take you a few years to get started, but you would be fine because you have yourself. Exactly. Like your career is just you. And I think we lose sight of that sometimes, especially when I was younger. I most certainly did not think of it like that. I was like, I have to work hard because my career is this job and the job after the university I'm going to go to and all the things I'm going to do. But it's not true at all. You look at people that are 21, haven't been to university, and set up some of the world's biggest companies, and people that have had all the jobs and accolades and still don't have as successful a career. So at the end of the day, it's you and who you want. And my mother's lesson has, and does it has, it doesn't change. Even today, it's just like gotta pace yourself. You can't do everything. I think one major point I want to make here is we always think about like support systems as friends and family, right? Like you think about the people that you're close to, and then you've got mentors, people that you work with, etc. I feel like a lot of the times we underestimate the power of a complete stranger. There have been very few instances where I reached out to a complete stranger on LinkedIn and said, I'm entering this industry or I'm navigating this situation, just trying to think about some of these things. Would you be open to have a chat? 8 out of 10 times, they have a chat with no agendas. I do the same. Every time somebody reaches out, I'm deeply passionate about my own community. And every time somebody reaches out saying, I'm moving to a new country, I'm trying this job, I see you've been here, can we chat? More often than not, I say yes. Those are the things that we sort of like underestimate is, that support systems out there. And we all have it. We all have access to it as long as you want it. So as long as you're okay going out and saying, hey, I need help, and reaching out to people, you're going to be fine. I want to remind everybody that reach out to people, no matter what you're doing, where you are. I don't know somebody at all, but they're like, hey, I'll come near your office. Let's grab a coffee. I want to chat about this one thing. Absolutely do it because there's always something to learn in an exchange. So that is my one big message. Do not underestimate the power of complete strangers. The second thing I've touched upon is the community I have with my friends, which I do not underestimate at all. I've got friends from, university, people that I've worked with. I collect friends as I go, and they've been my biggest support system, helping me navigate situations, etc. My family, they don't understand what I do, but they do understand that it matters a lot to me. They don't have to know everything about what I do, but they know enough to support me. She's a little crazy. She's going to work until 11 p.m. That's fine. We'll leave her to it, give her what she needs. But there's just so many different sources where you get all of that support from because it's hard otherwise. It's so hard. And the more you advance, the more challenges you find. And then you're trying to, like yourself, you're a mother and you've got a family and you've got all of these million things that you're trying to navigate. And we can't do it all. I don't see a lot of women just casually hanging out, saying, let's go get a pint. They're juggling so many different things. You think of your life and then you run back home, taking care of lots of different things. How do you get yourself a version of that? How do you get yourself a version of that pint after work with friends and mates so you can chat about different things? That's one thing to definitely think about. Is we also deserve spaces where we feel comfortable talking about our lives, chatting about these situations and making connections, networking. That's where you get all of your opportunities from. I truly think what you're doing is wonderful, and I definitely encourage everyone to go find those spaces. Oh, it's an elephant. I've been obsessed with elephants ever since I was a child. Take it easy. Exactly.